That's me, Scotty Boman, marching with thousands of Ron Paul supporters. So am I just joining the crowd because freedom is the latest fad? Hardly. I've been promoting liberty for over 20 years. In 1988, Ron Paul ran for president as a libertarian. When the mainstream media chose to omit him from the election results, I wrote about it.
I disagree with both these gentlemen. It's really not opposite views. You have decriminalization and criminalization, and I think decriminalization doesn't carry any of the advantages of legalization. It doesn't change the availability of youngsters, because the person's still dealing illegally, so there's no real incentive for him not to deal to youngsters, where he could lose a liquor license or his drug license, okay. How it be.
Compare it to, you would like it to be made as alcohol, as tobacco, educate, regulate, and go into business against the drug dealers.
Well, except I wouldn't be for the government spending money to subsidize it as they subsidize tobacco.
Okay, good. Thanks. I
agree. I don't condone just going off and doing anything. Since we live in a society together, there are certain rules that should put limits on the behavior of people because their behavior can affect other people. When a person's behavior is an imposition, a coercive imposition on someone else's life, then that behavior needs to be restricted. Likewise, if the government's behavior is a coercive imposition on someone else's life, that behavior must be limited. That is why we have a Bill of Rights that limit the government. And it was well conceived to put it there. So if a person is using drugs within their own home or selling them within their own home or in a business inside a storefront or such an environment, and people who are not going to be driving away or who are not pregnant and are consenting adults wish to participate in that activity, that is their right. I'm not saying they should participate in that activity. So yes, I agree with the representative. We do need restrictions on people's behavior, but when that restriction isn't to protect people from misbehavior, but rather to control people because other people don't like the way this other person wants to be, then we're stepping on dangerous ground. Next thing, maybe it's a religion that people don't like, perhaps like the Branch Davidians, and so the state goes after them. Or the Rastafarians, their religion actually involves the consumption of a substance that's illegal, marijuana. The state goes after them. Right. Once you make your limit on behavior something more than just protecting people from other people's behavior and make it into a means of what is popular behavior, let's force popular behavior down people's throats, that's a very dangerous thing.
Okay.
I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for inviting me to this forum. They demonstrate a level of intellectual courage that is lacking in the Presidential Debate Commission. I'm running for U.S. Congress because I believe people who desire freedom and oppose the current bloated government deserve an opportunity to express this view at the ballot box. Neither the Democratic nor the Republican Party fully recognize your individual rights as outlined in our Bill of Rights, the one in the U.S. Constitution. Each supports some manner of censorship. Each pays little more than lip service to the right to defend your own life. Each would like to impose their own personal or religious morality upon you. Each views your property as theirs to take and distribute as they see fit. The common premise, your life is not your own, your property of the state. I affirm your right to live for your own sake, as long as you allow others to do likewise. Under this principle, actions like murder, theft, rape, and fraud are recognized as intolerable wrongs, whether they are committed by private citizens or by her government. The proper role of the government is to protect people from anyone who would seek to deprive them of their life, liberty, or pursuit of happiness.
Well, we approach this question in the Socialist Workers' Party the way we do most social questions, and that is by recognizing that in the United States we are divided into social classes. I pointed to one of those classes, the rich, in my presentation. We're campaigning in the interest of working people. And what we need in taxes for working people is no tax on earned income $30,000 and less, and a reform in tax to tax the rich, not working people.
Thank you, Mr. Boman.
I'd like to echo, and this is ironic coming from a libertarian next to a socialist, but I'd like to echo that I don't think anyone making under $30,000 should have to pay an income tax. I'd also like to say that I don't think anyone making over $30,000 should have to pay an income tax. Basically, I think in principle there is something wrong in theory with taxes. And it's quite simply, as I went on, about whose life is it? Is it yours or someone else's? Do you have a right to live for your own sake? I mentioned murder, rape, theft, and fraud are recognized as intolerable wrongs. I don't know if many people doubt that. But then, when the government does these things, somehow it becomes moral. Why? So if you get enough friends together to do something evil, it becomes good. Taxation is theft, pure and simple.
Scotty Boman for council. Join the winning team. The coach has a W in his name.
Hello, I'm Scotty Boman. I'm running for city council.
That's right, there's another Scotty, and not the one you beam aboard.
It's my way of expressing my support for the Red Wings, as well as giving people a little tool to help remember my name by.
A little tool, that's a pretty big tool.
Oh, good.
This guy.
Elections used to be about competing ideas, a celebration of our democracy. Today, Republican and Democrat politicians merely attack one another, which is ironic since today there isn't any real difference between them. Here's just one example. Libertarians like Gregory Creswell and Scotty Boman believe that putting people into legal categories based on their race is an obnoxious, un-American practice that ought to be constitutionally barred. Not the two old parties.
Of that money. Congress must end all funding for continued presence in Iraq. Only funding operations necessary require a supermajority. In fact, the funding requires a majority of Congress, and if the president's opposed to the funding, he can veto the funding. But how to control your life? I don't want to control your life. Thank you. And if I am elected to the U.S. Senate, I will be one of the senators who knows that the federal Constitution does not give senators the right to control their life. Thank you.
I think a lot of us got too shy. I really think a lot of people have been afraid, I mean, this is my take on the thing, a lot of people have been afraid to come out and actually say, yes, I want to abolish the IRS because they're afraid of sounding crazy. It's like, okay, well, we tried this, we stayed on the margin, and then the more people step back thinking now maybe we get a little more credibility by being a little more subtle or soft-selling the message, instead of that getting us a few more numbers in there that then we can say, well, we really want to abolish IRS.
Hi, Scotty Boman, ready for U.S. Senate?
Hi, good to meet you. Running for U.S. Senate, Scotty Boman.
Hi, I'm Scotty Boman.
Some people even claim, oh, we've suddenly given rights to terrorists and we give them trials. There's something called the presumption of innocence.
Yeah, there you go.
You're innocent until proven guilty.
Yeah.
In fact, there's never been, as far as I know, any rights given to terrorists by our government or to criminals other than the right to be free of cruel or unusual punishment. The other things that people keep calling rights of criminals and rights of terrorists are rights of the accused. This autobiographical video is not an advertisement and costs me nothing but my time, but I am Scotty Boman, and I do approve its content.